Hey yo, salute to the people. It's the social forecast. Today is Saturday, June 1st, and I hope you all do something today to further your goals and to help you realize your dreams. Now let's get into it. A couple days ago, I did a blog about a story somebody sent me on Facebook Messenger regarding a father who was suing JP Morgan for discrimination when they denied his, I guess you would call it, maternity leave. Company cited to the employee that their assumption was that the mother, the person who gave birth to the child, was the primary caregiver. And on those grounds, and because there was no incapacitation of the mother, because she wasn't diagnosed with any kind of postpartum or there was no medical condition, they denied the father leave because they felt that the mom would automatically be the one who would be able to stay home with the child from work. Now, I'm not going to rehash and recap that whole blog. Y'all want to go check out that blog. The video is on my channel. Go ahead and take a look at it. If you haven't seen it or heard it yet, go play that one before you finish this one. Because in that first blog, I referenced that there's a catch-22 that I also wanted to touch on. And I said that I would do that at a later date in a later video. So I'm bringing that to y'all now. So consider this, right? So as I told y'all in the first blog I did, JP Morgan settled with this father. They actually settled the case for a total of $5 million, but not just to this one father, to other fathers who worked for the company going back some time, who had also not gotten the full time that they would have been entitled to, because these things are not run by company policy, like I stated in the first video. These things are run by the laws of the states that you live in and work in. It's all Department of Labor stuff. And so I referenced how this is a landmark case. It's the first time the article that I read even referenced it. This is the biggest settlement in this type of case as far as a biased against dads discrimination case goes. And I was saying how it's really going to cause not just controversy, but it's really going to set a precedent. And a lot of these companies are going to be scrambling to retrain, re-educate, change the culture of their managers, supervisors, and HR people so that this type of thing doesn't continue to happen. Because I would imagine that once this thing really gains some traction and really gets out there in media, and I hope people keep talking about it, a lot more people are probably going to be filing suit. And at some point, I would not be surprised if this thing ends up in some kind of a class action, major class action lawsuit. But now here's my thing. Isn't it ironic and isn't it funny how the same courts, the same systems in place to protect our rights that are now upholding things and forcing these companies to abide by laws that have pretty much been on the books as far back as I have been alive, for the most part, but that these companies never really followed, but that they're extra cautious about now in the age of everyone is lawsuit happy. But it's funny because who's going to hold accountable the family court system, which in my opinion is at the real crux of the problem for why there is such a disparity between the rights of fathers and the rights of mothers. It is a long since standing position of the court, and I don't care what anyone says, even if it's not on paper, it's definitely in practice, and you can walk into any family court anywhere in America and see this. Fathers are treated as auxiliary parents. I cannot say it enough. I have said it a million times. I will continue to say it. Fathers are treated as auxiliary parents. In most cases, it is always assumed that the child is better off in the care of the mother. For some reason, the courts believe that the welfare of the child is best met when the child physically lives with the mother. Now, we're in 2019. Mothers do not do all the things that mothers used to do. And fathers are doing a lot more than what fathers used to do. See, there's an interesting twist here. When I have my roundtable discussions and when I go back and forth with people on different things and they talk about the unfairness and my citing the unfairness of the disparity between fathers' rights and mothers' rights. People talk about how, women had to leave the homes and they wanted to work and have careers and pursue their higher education, which is fine. But what y'all never talk about and what y'all don't realize is that also started a different trend. Of course, there are a lot of deadbeat fathers who don't take care of their responsibilities. But when the mothers started to leave the homes to pursue careers, to pursue uh, furthering their education, those good husbands and good fathers who were at home started to do more to pick up that slack. And now that brings us to 2019, where you have more fathers than ever doing the cooking, the cleaning, the grocery shopping, raising the children. Now, I personally raised all three of my kids to the ages that they are now, 13, 9, and 7. And I worked nights and I stayed home with my kids all day. So I can definitely speak from personal experience. Fathers are doing a hell of a lot more than what we get credit for. There was another huge case out in New York. Salute to New York, because New York has really been ahead of the curve on a lot of things lately. They were one of the first on the East Coast to raise minimum wage to $15, and they didn't do the bullshit where they were going to make it like a 5-year plan like the state of Massachusetts decided to do. They just said, listen, minimum wage needs to be $15. Here's where it is. And as of January 1st, 2019, that's what happened. There's another legislation that was put on the books very recently where in New York as well, salute to New York again, any new establishment that is open to the public, that is going to be built going forward, has to have installed changing tables in men's restrooms or that men will have access to. Because fucking, like, as if it's not readily apparent and evident, fathers change diapers too. And I don't know how many times and how frustrating it has been for me over the years. You go into these different places, you go into the men's room, and there are no changing tables. It doesn't make any sense. It never made any sense, but it definitely doesn't make sense in 2019. If we can talk about getting legislation for, and this is not a shot at anybody, I'm just drawing a comparison. If we could talk about whole gender-neutral restrooms for the transgender community, then why the fuck can we put changing tables and stations in men's restrooms that already exist? It doesn't make any sense. So New York has that on the books now, and for any building establishment that's open to the public that does any kind of renovation, a part of that, them applying for that permit to do those renovations, they also are going to be required to, if they don't already have changing stations for men installed for fathers to have access to, they have to install them. So any new construction and any renovations that occur, I think is dope. Which brings me back to my point. How are these court systems going to force these companies now, as these lawsuits start to happen, and as fathers start to really understand their rights and say, hold on, if we're going to have a Me Too movement, if we're going to have a feminist movement, if we're going to have an LGBTQ movement, if we're going to have all these movements for people who want to exercise the rights that they've had on paper, but just did not have, the privilege of being afforded in practice, well, now they're going for it. Well, who's gonna go after the family court? There needs to be a major class action lawsuit. It would not be the first time. During the Civil Rights Movement, the government was sued several times in different locales, different states, and on the federal level, for blacks to have the right to vote, to have the right to the same education. They were sued for, desegregation. The LGBTQ community went after the government in different states and locales, and even the federal government, to have same-sex marriage legalized. There has been many times when people or a group of people has gone after the federal government and the government in their locales and their states, because they have not been given the rights that they're supposed to have. And now it's time for fathers to do the same. It's time for fathers to start a movement. It's time for us to overhaul the entire family court system, because there are too many things to name in this video, because I don't want to make it too long. There are too many things to name that just are not right. And salute to the fathers who are finally stepping up and seeing and understanding that they have rights, that we too have rights, and that we no longer have to play the back seat to the long-standing belief and antiquated theory that mothers know best and mothers do all the work, and the children are always better nurtured by the mothers. Because from what I see from some of the people who I know who are fathers, not all, of course, not enough, but definitely they're out there. Fathers are definitely equal in their capacity as parents and need to be treated as such going forward progressively. So I just wanted to touch on that because I promised that I would. Let me know what y'all think about this whole thing. Anything that I've touched on, what's going on with this lawsuit settlement. If you want to touch on what's going on with the changing tables. I had a group discussion on one of the Facebook groups I'm in with some people about the changing tables thing, and surprisingly there was a lot of fathers stepping up and saying, yo, that's real shit, that's true facts, because they don't have access to changing stations as much as moms do. So let me know what y'all think about it all. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one. Peace and love.